now we have the Bully Boys, and he has Bully Boys V2, the test. So for this Bully Boys list, we have our boy Colin Mcdade. Now, Colin Mcdade was actually at WarCon's 14 Warhammer Championship. This was a 118 player event in Texas. From what I understand, they weren't using Leviathan. Probably a bit too short notice to really switch that much up, but they did have the updated point costs, and they did have everything else for the rules. So it's still quite valid for how the meta is looking. We still have to see just how everything else plays out. And this was an actual, he actually had 6 games in his win path, so this one will be a little bit longer. So for Bully Boys, a lot of people are saying Bully Boys are dead. Some people are saying Bully Boys are dead just because Mega Nobz are dead. And you know what? I wasn't too high on Bully Boys once Mega Nobz got smashed in the kneecap. I didn't think they were gone, but I thought it was going to be quite limited or knob heavy. It is still knob heavy, but it is still has big units of Mega Nobz. So let's take a look. We have Mozrog Skragbad. I said Mozrog Skragbad for the Bully Boys list. Of course, he does get the double wall, but he does not get any access to any stratagems. We have a Pain Boy, 80 points there. A War Boss as the Warlord with no enhancements, followed by a War Boss in Mega Armor with Stompa, followed by another War Boss in Mega Armor. We have one 20-man unit of boys, most likely where the War Boss and the Pain Boy went. I actually really like to see that. 3 trucks, followed by 1 unit of Gretchen, followed by 2 units of Mega Nobz that are with twin kill saws, and then a 3rd unit of Mega Nobz, which are with one says he's a power claw. And it might have been that the guy was just very strict on his actual loadouts that he owned for models, but you could even say that all of these were twin kill saws. So he still stuck to the whole twin kill saw thing. Kept them at 5-man units instead of going for the full thick. One thing you can see here is that means one of these Mega Nobz units was unsupported. Yes, unsupported. And you know what? We've seen that one other time briefly where a person brought a big unit of Mega Nobz with no character support back when they were 150 points. Very, very annoying to shift with no leader, even with no leader, just because their straight data sheet profile is thick. So in that first wave of stuff you're sending in, that's going to take advantage of just this initial normal WAAAGH, doesn't require the War Boss, your Mega Nobz will go into that. Then when you call your additional WAAAGH, that's when these guys can come, the other units can come in with their leaders and continue the pressure with that. So he decided, I still want my 3-man units of Mega Nobz, but I'm going to just simply remove the character to offset that point cost. Boom, there you go. We still kept them gits. I think it's kind of cool, actually. Then he brought this big unit of Squig boys. So a lot of people were talking about this. Can I bring Squig boys and bullies? Is it there? Is it worth it? In this case, it was, because it looks as most of his main primary units on this list all have a common theme of a 5+ feel no pain, right? Pain Boy with all his 20 boys, 5-up feel no pain, double 5-up invuln. Then he has his Mega Nobz, double 5-up feel no pain, 5-up invuln. Then he has Squig boys, double 5-up feel no pain, 5-up invuln. So you can see he actually went for a theme here. That was the archetype of his list. The structure of this list should be called 5-up feel no pain, because that's really what he was riding on the backs of. The 20-man unit of boys there is really just to counter the weakness to Bully Boys, is lack of OC, and Squig boys help you do that too. They give you the volume in that case as well, because they get a stupid amount of punches, and them being on the wall keeps them a bit more durable with that 5-up invuln, because if you've played any games, you know that the 5-up invuln on the 5-up feel no pain is drastically better than just simply one 5-up invuln. The 5-up feel no pain doesn't really cut it for them in that case anymore. So I like how this looks. I really do. So I appreciated Colin Mcdade's list. Today's sponsor, Baron of Dice. So Baron of Dice has great dice. They have actually enabled us to give these dice out for our paint competitions. So I greatly advise that you go out there. We have a link in the description for a 5% discount. That's, of course, because nobody likes taxes. Shout out to the Baron of Dice, because they are actually customizing orc dice just for us that you guys will be able to get a hold of, and they look exceptional. So shout out to Baron of Dice. Really appreciate you guys, and I really do suggest you get them. I love the actual texture these dice have. So let's take a look at his win rate, his win path. So as for Colin, very first matchup, he went into Chaos Knights. Luckily, he has a bunch of twin kill saws, huh, you kids? So he went into Knight Tyrant as the Warlord, and then he went into then it was a War Dog Stalker, followed by another War Dog Stalker. Then he went to his battle lines of 1, 2, 3, 4 Brigands, 1, 2, 3 Carnivores. You don't typically see the big Knights, but in this case, people are more inclined to bring them. This is more about you being cagey and not letting them just straight you can't necessarily just put everything on the line into these knights, as they do have the damage, but what they lack is the volume. The fact that you have a bunch of 5-up Feel No Pains means he's not necessarily sure where this is going to go. Turn 1, you're going to go up in stage. He's going to move slightly forward. Hopefully, if he's smart, he's not going to let you touch multiple. But when there's this many small war dogs on the field, there's a good chance that your one Mega Nobz unit, when he makes a charge, is going to touch multiple. And if it doesn't, your units of 20 boys could hypothetically do this, touch multiple of these war dogs, and they don't have the volume to really kill them in a quick, efficient manner, especially if they have their Feel No Pain and their 5-up invuln. So this is kind of cool in that case, where the 20-man unit of boys piece acts more as a touching factor, and then the Mega Nobz come in and tear everything apart. Your Skragbad boys can come everything apart. Still a very devastating kind of list, but when you do have those twin kill saws, and you have the Skragbad boys, and you have the potential to bad touch everything, I really much like how that's going. Plus, all his Mega Nobz are in trucks. That way he can stage kind of safely. There's not a ton of really effective long-range shooting with these knights. You really hope the brigands just get you, and as long as you keep the brigands from popping your transports, which they could always roll once, it just means that you can, the Chaos Knight player really has to play cagey, and as soon as they get a little bit over aggro, they start having to pick up knights. They clap you back. It's not really that effective, and you clap them back again, and the game's over. So nothing to be scoff your nose at. Knights are still pretty effective, but having a bunch of twin kill saws and Mega Nobz is more effective. 98-point win there, and I'm sure Colin Mcdade is a fantastic player too, guys, right? It's not like I would look at those Knight players and be like, ooh, that's an easy win. It's still got to think. Still pretty brutal right there. We have Nate as a new member. Whoa, thanks for joining again. I appreciate that. And Josh right here too. Thank you, Nate. Welcome to the Great WAAAGH. Josh said, you get, I've been really digging to hunt. Luckily, my opponent last 2 games have been running A+ vehicles. And you know, that's not that uncommon because the meta is looking very thickness heavy, as I like to call it. Wicked Joe, thank you for your service, War Boss. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. Ooh. And just in case any of you guys know, my birthday is the 5th. Therefore, I will not be streaming on that Friday simply because I'll be out in the club. No, I'm just kidding. I'll just be out and doing some other things. But so this will be the one live stream this week. That's why it's a bit long, and make sure you guys get your questions in. I'm super excited, and I'll be playing 40K for my birthday too. So we have his second matchup. So for his second matchup, our boy Colin went into Chaos Marines, Dread Talons. Dread Talons are fetchingly, somewhat reliable, tough army, but not overly powerful. We have Abaddon the Despoiler, followed by a Dark Apostle, Master of Executions with Bullbreaker, and Vashtor, the Archifane. Yeah, okay, whatever. One unit of Cultists, followed by Legionnaire, Chaos Rhino, 2 Vindicators, Chosen, Raptor. It's not much on this list, but everything on this list is hitting hard. It's trying to get the initiative, but it's not surviving a clapback. Simply not surviving a clapback. And when your army is like, I get 2 turns of at least 5-up invuln and a 5-up Feel No Pain, it comes down to dice. And I like to think in this matchup, the Ork player just came up on the better end of these dice, as their Feel No Pain just said, oh, your Warp Talent sent me, your Vindicator sent me, now my turn, just crumped them. Bully Boys still to this day does great into power armor, in my opinion. It really, really does. And the archetype we're seeing here from Colin's list is 5-up Feel No Pain on 5-up invuln for pretty much 2 turns, where you're really hoping turn, let's say 2, 3, 3, 4, which I think its Nexus comes to be, might be more 3, 4, that you're actually durable and you're just kind of playing KG with the rest of your units up the field, right? So that's one of those things where he puts his 5-man unit of Mega Nobz with no leader forward. Here you have to commit to kill this with something like your Master of Executions. I fight on death, I bring you down with me, or I countercharge you and I pick you up. In this matchup, I just think we have all the tools to kind of deal with Dread Talons, and Colin showed that by putting a 100-point win list right there. Then as for his third matchup, we have the Plague Company. We have Death Guard. Now, this is known to be a tough matchup for Orks. Luckily, Bully Boys with 3 rolls to hits can overcome this. And let's take a look. We have Mortarion, followed by Typhus. Typhus is underrated. Maybe not even underrated. We'll just say 100-point costed. 2 Biologist Putrefiers, followed by 2 Death Guard Sorcerers in Terminator armor. These guys are slept on. Their data sheet abilities are pretty solid, followed by 2 foul blight spawn. So he's going definitely heavy on the 2 bricks of Terminator. So he's going to get his 5 first. He's going to get his critical 5+ lethal. Be aware of, in this case, he actually brought melta guns, but they do have nice plague weapons, and they do have their plague spear, followed by, I believe, the foul blight spawn has a plague spear as well. Well, not a plague spear, but he has some sort of death guard poop flamer. Then he has 1 unit of death shroud. Death shrouds are nasty, possibly for Typhus, but Typhus is actually pretty good by himself too. 3 units of Death Guard Predator Destructors, because Death Guard, actually we'll talk about it in a second. Unit of floated blight drones, and then 2 units of Rhino simply for his Plague Marines, 2 units of Nurglings. I see this list very much being able to contest with Bully Boys, but losing out on the actual mission to Bully Boys. And this list we designed because the Skragbad boys have the right profile to actually survive the combat, deal combat damage back to the actual most of these Death Guard lists, but still retain enough OC. Even the 20-man units of boys that he has on this list, as long as it's not getting alpha struck, right? As in the Plague Marines aren't just straight up jumping out of a Rhino, full max potential, hitting that unit. They're not just straight picking it up. And then Mega Nobz, because they're great armor saves of 2+, and they can actually reduce the AP from incoming damage of shots. These guys do have melta guns, I'll keep in mind. Means that all the small arms fire that they're typically trying to chip you down with isn't working as well. The Predator Destructors are limited for their lines of sight. Once they get touched, they're not happy. 20-man unit of boys can very much be used to touch them. And in this case, we do have enough speed. We do get reroll hits on the Bully Boys detachment, meaning that even though we are going to be stacking -2 to hit, essentially, which is the big problem with Death Guard, right? Because they can choose to just, get you all nice and stinky and make you -1 weapon skill, -1 ballistic skill. Then they take Nurglings, put them within 1 inch of you, 3-6 inches of you. Now they make that unit -1 to hit. Therefore, your Mega Nobz go from hitting on, 4 3s with their war balls to hitting on 5. So that's actually a big issue. Luckily, you get reroll hits, and the fact that you're rerolling wounds at strength 12 mean that you're really, really reliably killing these Plague Marines as the list goes on. Other than that, nothing's really going to hold the table there. And I'm really sure that it took Colin's kind of skill gap here to help make that such a huge point disparity in his 3rd game. Now, in his 4th matchup, we went into another Death Guard list. So he's showing that with this Bully Boys list of what I'm gonna just nickname the 5-up Feel No Pain archetype for Bully Boys, which is a bit new, right? He took out Death Guard twice, which is actually something I want to see. So he went through Chaos Marines, going through Death Guard, he went through Chaos Knights. These are lists and these are matchups that people are going to commonly see or have to run into. Maybe Death Guard, knowing it's a hard matchup for Orks, he's proving that stacking a different kind of durability on top of a different kind of pressure will help maybe mitigate the weaknesses to these matchups. So he still has the double units of Biological Putrefier, double units of Foul Blight Spawn, a Tallyman, and a Typhus. That's because he's going to bring 1-2 units of big bricked up Plague Marines that are all spiced up with free grenades and critical 5+s for lethals, and then 1 just straight up 5-man unit of Plague Marines, a Rhino, another Rhino, followed by some Cultists, a Predator Destructor again, but this one has an autocannon. Both of them do actually. Two Predator Destructors with autocannons. Death Shroud Terminator Squad, 2 floated bloat drones, and then with Plague Spitters, and then the other one is a Flesh Mower, so whatever. 2 Nurglings, and then 2 Wardog Brigands. Those Wardog Brigands are actually quite annoying because they're hitting on 2s with their guns and their melta, so they can disembark you. So be cautious. I think usually in a Death Guard player to combine these into one big unit of 6, but that's just me, right? But in this case, it could play 2 different sides of the field and really mess up the Orks with their fighting potential. But this list runs into the same matchup as the other, as he has 2 missiles of Plague Marines to pretty much do all his damage. At least the other list had Mortarion, but Skragbad boys still do a good job into Mortarion. Mozrog himself can do really good into Mortarion, but in this case, he doesn't even have something like a Mortarion to hold the mid-table. He's really just 2 big units of Plague Marines and his Typhus. Other than that, it's free game. And you can very much have I run out and tag all your transports, you disembark, punch my 20 boys away, and then I countercharge you with Squigs and Mega Nobz. You get to fight first. I survive. I clap you back because I reroll hits, and then I reroll wounds with one of those units. I pick up one of your 10-man units. Of course, they can reduce damage by 1, but when you have -3 AP on that, you're still blending through a good half the unit per fight phase. So Plague Marines just aren't enough to really hold the line there, and because you have Skragbad boys plus basic boys, you have enough mid-board presence, OC presence to outwin them on primary, and just they don't have enough units to really run around and score secondaries anymore once you kill those drones either. So shout out to him for overcoming Death Guard in his 4th matchup. As for his 5th matchup, this is when he's getting to the big dogs. This is where he's fighting for those finalist contestant spots. He's going into Nick Dot's Toomey. That's funny name. Where, ew, this looks funny. And of course, he went into Adeptus Auroritas. And this is Hallowed Martyrs. So he has Morgan Vol. Let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna look at their characters from here. We have a Canonist with Saintly Example. Canonist with Jump Pack. Tougher, Suffering, and Strength makes her hit a little bit harder. Morgan Vol, because she's gonna be very popular. Saint Stellastine, followed by this Triumph of Saint Catherine. Having all her abilities, being able to just be in a nice aura with her big old fat base means she can reach out to a bunch of different units. We have 1 unit of Arcoflagellants for 45 points. I think that's quite solid. A Dominion squad to take advantage of the new rules. 2 Seraphim squad for those fast scoring potential units. A 10-man unit of Sisters Novitiates, pretty awesome for just 100 points. 3 units of Castigators, now finding ways to overcome their AP deficiencies, which is very important for their battle cannons. The Paragon Warsuits, which are going to be stuck with Morgan Vol, and then 2 units of Immolators. So in this list up, again, this is one of those things where I will pull out. You have one unit counter charge that Bully Boys list that we showed, and it's Morgan. Well, I guess the Canonist with the jump pack in her unit can too. But we have Morgan Vol and the Paragon Warsuits, which do get great abilities, but simply they're running into one of your Mega Nobz units, probably killing them. Your unit's fighting on death, then another one can counter charge them back. As for the other units here, once they start running up the table, they can start getting tagged. The trucks are still small enough to allow you to hide and counter charge as you deem necessary. And the boy mob, and the Squig Hog Boy unit, I'm telling you, the fact that they doubled down on their 5-up Feel No Pain, 5-up Infold means that they're going in with the first wave, they're causing a bunch of problems, and when the enemy wants to dislodge them, they're getting counter charged by the other units, and or you're putting all the pressure on at once. They're erasing what they can as they can, and then you get another unit, another turn of 5-up Feel No Pain from the Mega Nobz. Of course, you can actually reduce the AP, so it might behoove you to try to actually tank the Castigator damage so it doesn't go into the Squig Hog Boys. Keep that in mind as well, because you can actually take them on the armor saves for the Mega Nobz compared to the Squig Hog Boys, where they're just going to be taking the shots and hoping they pass saves. So I lean more into your Mega Nobz came first in this matchup. You do have the Immolators as well for that reason, but this is you just go for it, because this is one of those matchups you just go for it, because if you try to play 2 kg in backline, you're just going to start getting picked apart with all the just damage and meltas. As the game goes on, the sisters get more of these miracle dices. They're getting more assured damage output, more assured wound output. This is I pressure you, I run right at you, I put you in your corner, I beat up what I can, I tag transport the armored vehicles that I can, and I mitigate your score drastically while killing everything that you love. So this is, in my opinion, when you're playing against sisters and you're playing against that version of sisters, where they have that many armored units that want to sit back and shoot and not much that's going to play the table, it means you're going to run into them and push them back into the deployment zone and just duke it out with Morgan Vol. Just make sure you save your CP so you can take her down with you. And that's where he got a 91-point win there. So still very, very decisive victory. Now, as for his final matchup, he did end up losing this, but I just want to point out before I show the result, he only lost to the person who won the event by 2, right? Colin Mcdade had an 85-point, and Matthew Ali had an 87-point win. So 2-point difference. If this was ITC scoring, this would be a tie. So that just shows how very close it is. And like I said earlier, orcs do great into power armor. And that being said, let's show off this power armor. We have the Black Templars. Now, the Black Templars have been known for being super brutal, super tough, but they've been taking incremental nerfs. That means, in my opinion, it takes a faction specialist with the Black Templars, and it seems like that's what this get was. So, in my opinion, that's because why do I think that? It's because he actually brought Terminators, and this Terminator Ancient, which showed a good awareness for what he was lacking and needed. He does have a High Marshal Hellbrick, a Judiciar with Sigma's Seal, a Lieutenant with a Predation Edge, a Lieutenant with the Combi Weapon, and the Emperor's Champion. Before I show you the full list, because I'm sure you know that there's Primary Sword Brother on here, let me show you this weird animation. Just kidding. Let me show you High Marshal Hbre and the Primary Sword Brethren, so you can understand how much damage and the stacking abilities you have to deal with this. So if you're unfamiliar with Black Templars, they have the detachment ability of Templar Vows. That means they can choose. I have lethal. You can choose. I have lethal. They can choose to have sustained, or they can. Oops, I messed that up. Moving around so much. They can choose to have a feel no pain against psychers. They're not really going to use it. And they can feel no pain. In this sort of matchup, when you're going into Bully Boys, it behooves of them to have lethal into the Mega Nobz, into the Skragbad boys. So I'm going to be inclined to believe they took lethals, but very much could bring a sustain for this reason. But why that matters is because High Marshal Hbre of the Crusader's Oath gives the unit +1 strength for melee weapons, but he also gives them a critical 5+, not to mention that he can throw out mortal wounds at the start of the fight phase. He himself is a melee master. He can blend with 12 attacks, strength 6, -3, 1 damage, or his two-handed version, which is 6 attacks, strength 8, -3, 3 damage. Really good into Mega Nobz when they don't have their feel no pain, especially. And that stacks with the Primary Sword Brethren squad, where he most likely will be attached to, where they have a slew of weapons, but the real important part is their Vow Sworn Bladesmen, or at the start of the phase, they can choose to have more attacks for more damage. They will more times than not choose more damage, and then they'll take that with their twin lightning claws. That means their lightning claws are twin linked. When they're with my High Marshal Hbre, they're now strength 6 with 5 attacks apiece, -2 AP, 2 damage, meaning that they will be dealing with the Bully Boys, either lethal in them or sustain them on 5+. Then they'll be winning them on 4s innately with the twin link reroll and built into that. So great amount of volume into there. They do have a couple strats here that which one was one where they can end up getting more armor penetration here for Crusader's Wrath. That way they can get all the way up to -3 AP with these lightning claws into something like a Mega Nobz unit or a Skragbad boy unit outside of the wall. So just super blendy unit for 150 points. Soft, but very killy. Emperor's Champion, that way they can get their nice fight first. We have 1 unit of jump intercessors, 3 units of assault jump intercessors. When you're playing to Bully Boys, these are either straight up counter charges to 20-man unit of boys, or they are getting in the way of your Mega Nobz. A Land Raider with the Godhammer las cannons, 3 units of Sword Brethren, all of them are 5-man units, and then he simply brought 1 big Brit of Assault Terminator squad. In my opinion, for how this list was playing out, is straight pressure and killing. There's not much on here to play the game KG and say, hey, I'm going to do actions and play backline. He has characters on characters for every one of his units. Some of them can go on the Land Raiders. The rest are just charging up the field, coming in from strategic reserves, ingressing in, and just beating the crap out on you in every flank of the field. No one survives their first contact with them. And the Terminators are the 1 unit with their Storm Shields and Thunder Hammers, where they can actually kind of play the mid-table and tempt you to interact with them. And then once you do, they kind of smash you out of place. For the Tannhausen Bones, let me see what that enhancement was. Oops, could I have seen what that was? I guess I have to pull that. I guess I have to pull that from somewhere else to look at that. I'll look at that in a second. Oops, I'll pull that up at the end. But that being said, Colin did take this to within 2 points to overcome that Black Templar list. Like we say, I like to think this came up to a feel no pain. That 2 damage on those guys really helped them deal and clear with the 20-man unit of boys and the Sword Brethren. Having a bunch of jump pack units to kind of block off jetpack guys could be helpful. Getting up to possibly lethals into the Skragbad boys could be very helpful as well. There's just so many factors in this matchup, and when it's a 2-point win, that you really can't be sure of how this happened. So let's take one more look at Colin Mcdade's new V2 test version of the Bully Boys archetype. I like to call this the 5-up feel no pain archetype. So we come up with a better name with that. Hopefully in Discord we come up with a better name than that. But as of now, the real theme here is he had a 20-man unit of boys, 3 Mega Nobz units, 3 truck Skragbad boys, 1 big brick, and then 3 units of Storm Boys, only 1 Gretchen unit. This was very much I'm going to stand on my stats, I'm going to stand on some of my strat, and we're just going to duke it out when I get to you. Whatever happens, happens. It does take good timing for your wall, because this army literally relies on the fact that you're a 5-up and holding on a 5-up feel no pain, and it does take good staging, understanding when and how to pressure, because you're so limited on points, and I very much think that you're trying to kill. And we have a good name for it. We're calling this the Pain WAAAGH. So the Bully Boys have now come up with the Pain WAAAGH, and this is the archetype that's new. I don't say this so you can go ahead and copy it. I'm saying it so you can have this archetype. Like I said, a lot of people will stop their Mega Nobz crusade of buying a bunch of them, having them full, but you can see that going to 5-up feel no pain on 5-up feel no pain on 5-up feel no pain, on top of being able to fight on death on your wall, on top of being able to reduce AP, on top of getting reroll hits. So if you take advantage of those actual strats and abilities, this becomes reliably killing, makes up for the fact that we're kind of slow and can be pressured in response, and makes up for our weaknesses to highly tough or highly armored opponents. He has twin kills loss, he has AP, he has volumes from the Squig boys, and it makes up for the lack of OC. So I'm actually really impressed with this list. This might be my favorite list that I covered out of these couple lists. I don't usually say that, but because Bully Boys was so down and about and people were down on it, and he really took what was a more of a theoretical version of Bully Boys and took it to the bank, made it so I'm very impressed with Colin Mcdade's list. Love to see it, and I hope this inspires a bunch of different Ork players to understand Bully Boys aren't dead. You might just need to lean into the 5-up on 5-up, 5-up the Pain WAAAGH. So shout out to Colin Mcdade for going 5-1 at the WarCon 14 Warhammer 40K event. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!